Hello all, Nice Dale here, bringing you a knife summary. I've already done a review on this one, and I'll have that linked at the end if you want to watch the full length, where we go into the specs, details, and a little bit more. But for this one, we're just doing a nice little quick summary of these knives. And what we're looking at today is the Les George VECP. As I completely screwed that up, but yeah, ignore that. Pretend that didn't happen. No. VECP frame lock and button lock. This one's in Mancut, this one's in Damascus. And these are USA made Midtechs. Les George himself does definitely work on these things, tweak them. He, in fact, refinished and reground this blade for me because when I got it, apparently this was a blade show one from one of the blade shows, and it was bought by a vendor. I bought it off the vendor, and it had a little bit of rust starting on it. I sent it in, I contacted him, sent it in, he refinished the thing, came back, and it's actually even nicer than it was. It's now even like, it's got like a shine, a really almost mirror shine to the, well, not blasted looking parts. It's not blasted, but the blasted looking parts of the blade. That's really attractive, especially in person. I mean, look at that. That is just wonderful. I think it's even better. And it's hollow ground, and my word, this thing can cut and sharp. This one is not hollow ground. This is a sort of base model in the sense of what you normally get from his Midtechs. It does have a beautiful reflective stonewash on it, and it's thicker behind the edge. It's more of a mid sort of universal thickness, where this one's definitely a cutter. This one's got more of a, you can use it slightly harder, you can use it for EDC, it sort of checks more boxes, but it's still not too bad. Some knives get too much and too thick behind the edge in pursuit of that universal use. This one does not. Both are very sharp, both are wonderful. I know they're heat treated well. And what are we looking at beyond that? We're looking at just simple titanium frame lock on this one, on phosphor bronze, but these are on phosphor bronze are so freaking smooth. That is, I mean, how many knives on washers can do this? It's a shake shut knife on washers. That's how great that is. And the detent is so strong, but in a great way. You know, I use these knives occasionally and have no issues with them, but I'm behind a camera now, and all of a sudden, I'm Butterfingers. Ah, of course. Alright, let's get back to the knife. Big old hardware, this like T9 is like T15. Wonderful, captured pivot. You got a over travel back under here. No lock bar insert in this, but that's fine. It's titanium on steel in this case, but I've not had any issues with it whatsoever. And some custom makers do that, so it's not necessarily a problem. It can be a problem if maybe your titanium isn't up to snuff, if your execution isn't so dialed in. Not the case here. It doesn't bother me. They're both centered. There's no play. These things are rock solid, wonderful workhorses. The clips, don't love the clips. Yes, I can feel this in the hammer grip, the regular like bayonet, not bayonet, saber grip. That's the word I'm looking for. Saber grip right here. With your thumb on the spine, I can't feel the clip. I can feel it a little bit in the pushed forward, sort of real far up hammer grip. This, not so much. I don't love the clips. They're very basic, they're very simple, but I don't hate them. They work fine. They do have a little bit of... They're a little tighter than necessarily they could be. At least this one is. This one, not as much. This one's got a little more flex to it. They're fine, they're not hurting anything. They're pretty good. Got a lanyard hole, which we don't really need, but I guess it's there. Beautiful drop point blade. Some textured... It's not really jimping, yet it does actually provide some positioning. Maybe because it's just so deep that you just get stuck on it. I don't know. Frame lock, button lock, wonderful detent. The only complaint that I have on these knives, and this is a personal thing, is I think these thumb studs need to be just a tiny bit higher. Not a lot, just a tiny bit. There's just enough clearance for them to be a little bit higher. Or back, I should say. Mostly because the way this cutout is, yes, if you come down from this side like this, and you go like this, out sideways, you're fine. That's exactly how this thing's supposed to go. But a lot of times when you get a knife and that has thumb studs, you sort of push forward a little bit with it. And if I follow this chamfer down in, I find myself coming up a little bit too high, too far off to the side. So it feels a little bit weird. And I wouldn't mind seeing a chamfer on this side so you have better access to the reverse flick. Not that it doesn't work, I just use my nail. Using the thumb, or not the thumb, the meat of your finger on the reverse flick, there's not a ton of space in there. You can do it, but it's not as satisfying, in my opinion, as just grabbing it with the nail and popping it. So it works fine. But I wouldn't mind just seeing that slight adjustment, just move the board a little bit. And it seems to be pretty consistent. They're both just a little bit low in my personal opinion. That's opinion. Moving on to the button lock, we've got not flat titanium. This is the morph pattern. This is a USA-made button lock, which is, I mean, again, phosphor bronze, people. Yeah. That's crazy. The downside on this one is it doesn't have much of a detent. In fact, it's kind of mushy. That said, it's so smooth and so well done, yeah, it flies out. But this one, and it doesn't, oh, it does. You can fling it open, but it actually takes a lot more effort than you'd think, considering how it feels. But honestly, USA made, hand finished Midtech. I'm okay with this. I'm perfectly fine with this. These are pretty desirable knives, in my opinion. They go pretty quick. He's a popular designer, and he makes great knives. These are no exceptions. There's a little bit of, you can kind of hear it grating. I think it's the spring. You can feel it just a tiny bit, but, I mean, other than that, it's so darn smooth and wonderfully done. It's a very interesting take on the button lock. Big, giant, chunky button lock with a big spring in there, and I don't know. The whole thing's interesting. Just interesting knives. I mean, you can even see some of where the button actually stops, which is, I mean, does it bother me? No, not at all. It's not like stuff's going to get in there. That's an open-ended loop, so whatever. Sharpening jaw and plunge grind. I mean, that's one area where it could be better. The plunge grind does hit the edge, but of course you can, on both these knives, cut in more sharpening jaw and plunge grind. This one's not bad at all because the actual stop pin hits way back there, so it is away from the edge. So if that becomes a thing that you need to do, you can do it. Overall, these are just some really cool USA-made knives from a guy that was very pleasant and quick and easy to work with when I mentioned what I had the issue with. Yeah, I think that's it. They're very straightforward, but they're really, really they're satisfying. And they look really good. That's all. See ya.